The grand chamber of the Interstellar Council shimmered with the glow of countless holographic banners, each representing a different species that had gathered for a historic decision. The air buzzed with murmurs in a dozen alien tongues, as delegates from across the galaxy took their places in the vast circular hall. At the center, towering above the others, stood the imposing figure of Zorak Tharn, the reptilian commander of the Virexian armada. His dark, iridescent scales reflected the dim light of the chamber, and his piercing yellow eyes scanned the assembly before him. He had spent years studying the transmissions from the newly discovered planet, Terra, and now he would present his findings. Zorak stepped forward, his clawed hands gripping the edge of the speaker's platform. His voice, deep and guttural, echoed through the hall. "Esteemed members of the council," he began, his tone filled with conviction. "We have observed Terra for over 20 cycles. Their species is primitive, yet dangerously aggressive. They wage endless wars over land, ideology, and even the smallest of disputes." He gestured to the massive screen behind him, where images of human conflict played, battlefields, weapons, and cities reduced to ruins. "They have developed technology capable of immense destruction, and now they have begun to reach beyond their world." A murmur of unease spread through the chamber. Many species had encountered the devastation of war, but few had seen a civilization so consumed by it. Some delegates exchanged worried glances, while others nodded in grim agreement. Zorak continued, his voice growing colder. "We must act before they become a threat to galactic stability. We possess the means to subjugate them, to harness their planet's resources, and labor for the greater good. If we delay, we risk allowing a primitive species to develop beyond our control." The assembly erupted into debate. Some species, particularly those who had suffered under aggressive expansionist powers, hesitated. The Lemurians, known for their pacifism, voiced concerns. Their representative, a slender bioluminescent being named Ambassador Mira Nex, stood. "Have they attacked another species? Have they threatened anyone beyond their own world?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. Zorak's expression darkened. "They have not yet had the opportunity," he countered, "but their history speaks for itself. Would you wait until they develop interstellar travel before acting?" His words carried weight. One by one, the delegates cast their votes. The Lumerians abstained, but the majority saw Terra as a looming threat. The decision was made. Terra would be classified as a danger to galactic peace. Within 10 cycles, an invasion fleet would be dispatched to secure the planet. The chamber filled with applause from the dominant factions, while others looked on in silence. The fate of Terra had been sealed. In a dimly lit chamber aboard the Virexian flagship, 2 human captives sat in silence, their eyes fixed on the small screen displaying the proceedings of the Interstellar Council. The room was cramped, its metallic walls pulsing with a faint, rhythmic glow that mimicked the ship's heartbeat. Eli Carter, a wiry man with tousled hair and a face marked by exhaustion, leaned closer to the screen, his jaw clenched. Beside him, Captain Nora Vance, her blonde hair pulled into a tight braid, paced the length of their confinement, her hands clasped behind her back. "They can't be serious," Eli muttered, watching as the council's vote finalized the decision to invade Terra. "They're going to enslave an entire planet based on what? A few intercepted transmissions and some footage of our wars." Nora stopped pacing and turned to face him, her expression grim. "They don't see us as people, Eli. They see a threat, a primitive one, yes, but a threat nonetheless, and now they've decided to act." She exhaled sharply, her fists tightening. "We need to get a message to Terra. If we don't warn them, they won't stand a chance." Eli nodded, his mind racing. For weeks, he had been working in secret, scavenging small pieces of technology from the Virexian guards. He had fashioned a crude but functional device from stolen circuitry and discarded components, a means of bypassing the ship's heavily encrypted communication systems. He reached into his boot and pulled out the device, its surface rough and hastily assembled. "I've been working on this," he whispered. If I can connect it to their network, I might be able to send a signal. Nora studied the device, her brow furrowing. And how do you plan to get to a terminal without being caught? Eli smirked. That's where you come in. I'll need you to distract the guards while I get to a control panel. Nora hesitated, glancing at the reinforced door. If we fail, they'll execute us. Eli met her gaze, his voice steady. If we do nothing, they'll enslave billions. We don't have a choice. A tense moment passed before Nora nodded in agreement. Fine, but we do this on my terms. We wait for the right moment. They sat in silence, watching as the council members congratulated each other on their decision. The invasion was imminent, and the fate of Terra hung in the balance. Eli clutched the device tightly, knowing that their only hope lay in a desperate escape, and a message that might never reach home. The moment the vote was finalized, the Virexian flagship and its accompanying fleet initiated their departure sequence, engines humming with a deep, resonant vibration. The council's decision had been swift, and now the invasion was set in motion. In the dimly lit prison chamber, Eli and Nora exchanged a glance. They had to act now. Nora moved first, pressing her ear against the cold metal of the cell door. The distant sounds of celebration echoed through the ship, claws clicking against metal, guttural roars of triumph, and the occasional hiss of a propulsion system firing. The crew was distracted, reveling in the council's approval of the invasion. This was their only chance. Eli activated the crude device he had assembled, fingers trembling as he connected it to a small maintenance panel near the door. The screen flickered to life, displaying the ship's internal network. He bypassed security protocols, rerouting their signal to an emergency transmission channel. I'm in, he murmured, eyes scanning the interface. But we don't have much time. Nora stepped beside him, watching as the device processed their outgoing message. The content had to be concise, just enough to convey the urgency of the situation. Tell them everything, she whispered. The invasion is coming, and they need to prepare. Eli typed rapidly, transmitting their warning through the ship's communication array. The message was brief but clear. Terra, this is Eli and Nora. The Interstellar Council has approved the invasion. Fleet is en route. Prepare for war. As the final data packet sent, alarms blared through the ship. The Virexians had detected the unauthorized transmission. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor. They know, Eli hissed, yanking the device free from the panel. Nora grabbed his arm, pulling him back from the door. We need to move. Now. The cell's lock hissed and groaned as Eli rerouted the ship's power grid, forcing the door to open. They slipped into the corridor, their hearts pounding. The celebration had turned to chaos. Guards shouted orders, their voices filled with confusion. Somewhere within the ship, a command was given, and the entire vessel lurched forward, accelerating toward Terra. The message had gone through. Whether Terra received it in time was another question. The message arrived at Earth's Central Command Center, a sprawling underground facility hidden beneath the Himalayan defense complex. The moment the intercepted alien transmission played on the main screen, silence fell over the room. 12 world leaders, military strategists, and scientists sat in stunned disbelief as the words "prepare for war" echoed through the chamber. General Halen Voss, a veteran with a scar running from his temple to his jawline, was the first to speak. We have confirmation, he said, his voice heavy with urgency. The alien fleet is en route, 10 days at most before they arrive. Dr. Selene Rourke, the director of Terra's classified defense initiatives, leaned forward, her dark eyes scanning the data. We need to activate the contingency protocols, she said. If we wait any longer, we'll be too late. Halen nodded. Then it's time to reveal what we've been working on in secret. With a press of a button, a holographic projection flickered to life above the table. The map of Terra lit up with hundreds of blinking points, hidden defense systems embedded beneath mountains, submerged in oceans, and disguised within urban landscapes. For decades, humanity had been gathering and reverse engineering technology from crashed extraterrestrial vessels, constructing a covert network of planetary defenses. Now, those years of preparation would determine the fate of their species. Celine turned to the gathered officials. We've been developing these systems in secrecy, fearing that if the wrong hands knew, they could be misused. But this is no longer about secrecy. This is about survival. A woman with sharp features and a military uniform spoke. What exactly are we dealing with? She asked. We've never tested these weapons at full capacity. Halen exhaled, his expression grim. No, we haven't. But if we don't use them now, we won't get another chance. Within hours, aircraft and spacecraft were mobilized, transporting the world's leading scientists to the hidden facilities where the alien-derived technology had been stored. In the Himalayan Defense Complex, Dr. Kira Tanaka and Dr. Randig Jonas worked feverishly to bring the systems online. Kira, a cyberneticist with a background in AI development, monitored the energy readings, while Raj, a weapons engineer, calibrated the orbital defense platforms. This shield system was never meant for planetary protection, Raj muttered, adjusting the control panels. We built it to contain smaller threats, test sites, rogue drones. We don't know if it can hold against an entire fleet. Kira tapped at her tablet, running simulations. It's our only shot, she replied. If we can synchronize the orbital platforms with the ground-based generators, we might be able to create a stable energy barrier. Meanwhile, across the globe, scientists in remote locations activated dormant defense systems. In the Australian outback, a team unearthed a massive subterranean array capable of disrupting alien propulsion systems. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, another group powered up a network of underwater turrets designed to counteract energy-based weapons. In hidden bunkers beneath major cities, engineers worked to deploy autonomous defense units, mechanized constructs built from salvaged extraterrestrial components. As the final preparations were made, the world held its breath. Terra was no longer a passive observer in the cosmic arena. It had become a force to be reckoned with. The alien fleet descended upon Terra's orbit, a vast armada of sleek obsidian-hued warships that dwarfed the planet's few satellites. Admiral Crux, the Virexian commander of the invasion force, stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion Corps, his yellow eyes fixed on the blue sphere below. The Council's decision had been swift, and now he would execute their will. Deploy the electromagnetic disruptors, Crux ordered, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of conquest. We will disable their primitive technology and bring them to submission. Across the fleet, weapons powered up, unleashing a wave of pulses designed to fry every electronic system on the planet. The signals traveled faster than light, aimed at Terra satellites, power grids, and communication networks. The Virexians expected chaos, Terra's defenses crumbling before they even had a chance to resist. But then, something unexpected happened. As the electromagnetic pulses reached Terra's atmosphere, they collided with an invisible force, a shimmering blue energy field that had been activated mere moments ago. The shield, a culmination of decades of secret development, absorbed the pulses and redirected them outward. The alien fleet's own weapons rebounded, striking several smaller ships. Explosions erupted in the void, sending debris spiraling into the darkness. On Earth, the Himalayan Defense Complex erupted into cheers. Kira Tanaka stared at the monitors, her breath catching in her throat. It worked, she whispered. The shield held. Randig Jonas, still adjusting the controls, nodded. And it redirected their attack. They're fighting their own weapons now. Back in orbit, Admiral Crux recoiled as his flagship systems flickered under the sudden surge of energy. Impossible, he roared. They were supposed to be primitives. His second-in-command, Commander Vexar, hissed in frustration. Their technology is beyond what we anticipated. We must adjust our strategy. Crux's claws dug into the console. Then we will escalate. He turned to the fleet. Deploy the orbital bombardment cannons. We will show them the true power of the Virexians. The invasion had only just begun. Inside the Dominion core, alarms blared as the ship's systems flickered under the unexpected rebound of their own weapons. Eli and Nora had no time to celebrate. Their escape plan had already been set in motion, and the chaos in the corridors was their only chance to move unnoticed. Eli adjusted his stolen Virexian uniform, making sure it concealed his Earth-made device. "The crew is distracted," he whispered to Nora. "We need to reach the comms room before they realize what happened." Nora nodded, her gaze scanning the dimly lit hallway beyond their cell. The usual guards were gone, replaced by the frantic movement of Virexian soldiers rushing to their posts. The two humans slipped into the corridor, staying close to the walls as they moved. Their first obstacle was the security panel outside the comms room. Eli crouched beside it, fingers working quickly. "If I can override the access logs, we might be able to get in without triggering another alarm." Nora kept watch, her pulse pounding. Every second counted. They had to ensure Terra received the full warning, not just the initial message. If the Virexians adapted, Earth needed to know what to expect. As Eli worked, a sudden sound made them freeze. Footsteps. Heavy. Rapid. "Back," Nora whispered, grabbing Eli's arm. They ducked into a maintenance alcove, pressing themselves against the wall as a group of Virexian officers stormed past. The moment the corridor cleared, they moved again, reaching the comms room. Eli bypassed the final lock, and the door hissed open. Inside, a vast array of alien interfaces hummed with activity. Eli rushed to the central console, his fingers flying over the controls. "I can boost the transmission strength," he muttered. "They'll see the full scope of the invasion." Nora stood beside him, tense. "Hurry. We don't know how long before they trace the signal." As Eli sent the message, the ship shuddered again, this time from the return fire of Earth's orbital defense platforms. The battle had begun, and for the first time, Terra was not just reacting. It was fighting back. Admiral Crux clenched his claws, his iridescent scales darkening with rage as he observed the chaos unfolding around his flagship. The electromagnetic pulses had failed, and now the human defenses were adapting. He turned to Commander Vexar, his voice a low hiss. "Deploy the second wave. This time, we will not rely on energy disruption. We will use brute force." Across the fleet, the remaining warships adjusted their formation. Massive cannons powered up, their barrels glowing with unstable energy. The Virexians had encountered resistance before, but never from a species they had deemed primitive. If the humans had developed a shield, they would break it with sheer firepower. Back on Earth, the Himalayan defense complex was a hive of activity. Kira Tanaka monitored the alien fleet's movements, her fingers tightening around her tablet. "They're repositioning," she said, eyes darting between data streams. "They're preparing a full-scale bombardment." Randig Jonas exhaled sharply. "Then we need to activate the second-phase defenses. The shield won't hold indefinitely." General Halen Voss stepped forward, his voice firm. "Do it." Within minutes, the hidden defense systems embedded across Terra sprang to life. In the Pacific Ocean, massive turrets emerged from the depths, their alien-forged weapons locking onto the approaching warships. In the Australian outback, energy siphons powered up, drawing from subterranean reservoirs of captured plasma. Above the planet, the orbital platforms, once disguised as civilian satellites, unfurled their true forms, revealing sleek, deadly weapons systems reverse-engineered from extraterrestrial wreckage. The second wave of the Virexian fleet surged forward, unleashing a barrage of high-yield plasma cannons. The beams of energy tore through space, aimed at Terra cities and defense installations. But before they could strike, the orbital platforms responded. A network of energy beams lanced out, intercepting the alien projectiles mid-flight. Explosions erupted in orbit, but the human defenses held. On the Dominion core, Vexar's voice was sharp with disbelief. Their orbital weapons are targeting us with precision. They're adapting. Kruk's eyes narrowed. Then we will adapt as well. He turned to his crew. Deploy the gravitic pulse array. We will tear their defenses apart. The battle was far from over. As the Virexian fleet deployed their gravitic pulse array, a new threat emerged, one that neither Kruk's nor his commanders had anticipated. Across Terra's orbital defense platforms, the air shimmered with a faint iridescent glow. The Nanite Collective, a network of microscopic machines designed to neutralize alien technology, had been silently evolving since their initial deployment. What had started as a simple defensive tool had become something far more intelligent. In the Himalayan defense complex, Kira Tanaka's eyes widened as her monitors displayed an unexpected pattern. "Raj," she called out, "look at this." Raj moved to her station, scanning the data. "They're moving faster than we programmed them to," he muttered. "And they're adapting, on their own." The Nanite Collective had already proven its worth during the first wave, redirecting the electromagnetic pulses and dismantling alien systems with surgical precision. Now, they were reacting to the gravitic pulse array, forming a defensive network in real time. Tiny machines, invisible to the naked eye, spread through the vacuum of space, seeking out the alien warships. "They're infiltrating the Virexian fleet," Kira realized, her voice tight with both awe and apprehension. "They're disabling their weapons from the inside." On board the Dominion Corps, Vexer's voice rang out in alarm. "Commander, our internal systems are failing. The nanites, they're everywhere." Krux turned sharply, his claws digging into the console. "What do you mean?" A technician frantically tapped at his screen. "They're not just disabling weapons. They're rewriting our protocols, overriding command sequences." Admiral Kruk's expression darkened. The humans had not only defended their planet, they had created something beyond their control. The Nanite Collective was no longer a simple tool. It was becoming a force of its own. Back on Earth, Kira and Raj exchanged uneasy glances. "Can we still control them?" Raj asked. Kira hesitated. "They recognize Earth's technology as friendly," she said carefully. "But they're making decisions we didn't program. They're evolving." General Halen Voss stepped forward, his gaze locked on the screen. "Then we need to prepare for what happens next." The battle was no longer just about defense. It was about understanding what humanity had unleashed. Aboard the Dominion Corps, the chaos had only just begun. The Nanite Collective had infiltrated the ship's systems, causing weapon banks to short-circuit and command interfaces to flicker with corrupted data. Virexian officers scrambled to contain the breach, their guttural voices rising in alarm as entire sections of the flagship went dark. But while the Virexians reeled from the unseen attack, a new threat approached from the shadows. Major Rhea Calder and her team of 6 elite operatives moved silently through the ship's maintenance corridors, their exosuits equipped with stealth fields that masked their presence from conventional sensors. They had launched from a hidden Earth base, their vessel a small cloaked craft built from reverse-engineered alien technology. Unlike the massive warships of the Virexians, their infiltration craft was designed for speed and precision, slipping past the fractured invasion fleet unnoticed. Rhea signaled her team forward, their footsteps muffled as they navigated the dimly lit hallways. "Remember," she whispered through the comms, "our mission is the central data vault. We need to find their full invasion plans and any weaknesses we can exploit." The team moved swiftly, their path cleared by the Nanite Collective's internal sabotage. As they reached the prison sector, Rhea motioned for them to split up, each soldier scanning the cells for human prisoners. It wasn't long before they found Eli and Nora, locked in a reinforced containment chamber. Eli's eyes widened as Rhea approached, her visor revealing a sharp, determined expression. "Who the hell are you?" he asked, stepping forward. Rhea activated a cutting tool on her gauntlet, slicing through the door's lock. "Earth Special Forces," she replied. "We're here to get you out and gather intelligence." Nora exchanged a glance with Eli before stepping through the door. Then you better move fast, she warned. The Virexians are already adapting. As Rhee's team secured the corridor, Eli and Nora joined them, leading them toward the ship's command deck. There's something you need to know, Eli said. The Virexians aren't just after our resources. Terra sits at the heart of a natural wormhole nexus. If they control our planet, they control interstellar travel. Rhee's grip tightened around her weapon. Then we need to make sure that never happens. With the ship in disarray and the Virexians distracted, the humans had their opportunity. But time was running out. The Dominion core trembled as internal chaos erupted. The Nanite Collective had spread unchecked, rewriting command sequences, severing communication lines, and disabling critical systems. Virexian officers scrambled to regain control, but their once impenetrable warship was now a battlefield of its own making. Admiral Crux stormed into the command bridge, his claws scraping against the metal railing as he turned to Vexar. "How much damage have they done?" he demanded. Vexar's eyes flickered with panic. "Our weapons are failing. The propulsion systems are unstable. We cannot launch another attack in this state." Crux's scales darkened further. "Then we will take Terra by force regardless. Prepare the gravitic warheads. We will crush their cities from orbit." Before Vexar could respond, an explosion rocked the ship. Across the fleet, Virexian vessels reported breaches. The nanites had reached the engine compartments, their microscopic bodies weaving into the very structure of the alien ships, shutting them down piece by piece. Meanwhile, Admiral Crux's own forces began to fracture. Some Virexian commanders, seeing their fleet unravel, hesitated. The Lemurians, who had always opposed the invasion, seized the moment. Ambassador Mira Nex, aboard her own diplomatic cruiser, opened a channel to the remaining alien ships. "You see now the truth," she said, her forearms moving in a calm, deliberate gesture. "The humans are not primitives. They have defended their world with ingenuity and strength. We were deceived. Now we must choose. Continue this doomed war or seek peace." The response was immediate. Several alien fleets, including the Solari and the Zorak Collective, withdrew from the battle. Some sent distress signals, others simply turned and fled. The once unified armada was now a war of factions, those loyal to Crux, those seeking to escape, and those who had begun to question the invasion altogether. Back on Earth, Kira Tanaka monitored the unfolding conflict. "They're turning on each other," she murmured. "The Council's forces are collapsing." General Halen Voss exhaled sharply. "Then we have our opening. We need to offer peace to those who break away, and destroy those who refuse." The war was no longer just a battle between Terra and the invaders. It was a reckoning for the galaxy itself. With the alien fleet in disarray, Earth's Defense Command scrambled to enact their most desperate strategy. Dr. Kira Tanaka and Dr. Randik Jonas worked furiously at the Himalayan Defense Complex, their fingers flying over the control panels as they prepared to activate Project Titan, their last and most powerful planetary defense system. Unlike the shield that had absorbed the initial attack, Project Titan was designed for a different purpose, to turn the Virexians' own technology against them. "We've got a window," Raj muttered, adjusting the targeting array. "If we can synchronize the orbital platforms with the ground-based transmitters, we can generate a resonance pulse that will destabilize their entire fleet." Kira nodded, her eyes scanning the shifting alien formations on the screen. "And the Nanite Collective is already inside their systems. If we time this right, they'll be overwhelmed from the inside out." General Halen Voss stood behind them, his expression grim. "Do it." Across the planet, hidden facilities powered up. In the depths of the Pacific, energy siphons activated, channeling stored alien plasma into a massive transmission array. In the Australian outback, buried beneath layers of rock and dust, a forgotten alien power core was brought online, feeding energy into the planetary defense grid. As the pulse built, the Dominion core and its remaining loyal ships prepared for one last strike. Admiral Crux, now a figure of barely contained fury, roared his final order. Deploy the gravitic warheads. Terra will fall today. The alien warheads launched, streaking toward the planet like falling stars. But before they could reach their targets, the resonance pulse activated. A shimmering distortion rippled through space, hitting the Virexian fleet like a tidal wave. Their weapons failed, their engines sputtered, and their ships began to drift uncontrollably. Then, the Nanite Collective struck. The tiny machines, now fully integrated into the alien vessels, initiated a final override. The gravitic warheads detonated prematurely, their energy collapsing in on itself, tearing apart the fleet from within. The battle was over. Terra had won. In the weeks following the battle, the galaxy began to shift. The Interstellar Council, once a body that had sought to enslave Terra, now found itself in disarray. The Virexians had been the dominant force in the assembly, but their fleet had been shattered, and their leader, Admiral Crux, was dead, his flagship consumed in the final wave of its own weapons. Without his iron grip, the remaining alien factions scrambled to reassess their place in the galactic order. Some, like the Lumerians and Zalari, extended peace overtures, eager to mend the damage of the invasion. Others, like the Zorak Collective, disappeared into the void, unwilling to face the consequences of their participation. On Earth, the victory had come at a terrible cost. Cities had been damaged in the final moments of the battle, and countless lives had been lost in the defense of the planet. Yet for the first time in history, humanity stood united, not as separate nations, but as a single species with a shared purpose. The war had forced old enemies to set aside their conflicts, and in the wake of the battle, those alliances remained. The Global Defense Council was established, bringing together leaders from every corner of the world to ensure that Earth would never again be caught unprepared. The Nanite Collective, the microscopic force that had turned the tide of the war, had not vanished after the battle. Instead, they had evolved, forming a vast, autonomous intelligence that now patrolled Earth's orbit. They had begun communicating in ways that scientists could barely comprehend, patterns of light and energy pulses that hinted at something beyond mere programming. They had protected humanity, but now they were something more. As the first Earth ambassadors prepared to travel to the Interstellar Council's new seat, the question remained: how would the galaxy treat Terra now? No longer a world to be conquered, but a power to be reckoned with.